What do you know? A dinosaur movie produced by Littlefoot's dad. 65 stars Adam Driver as an astronaut named Mills, whose spaceship crash lands on an unidentified planet, with a young girl named Koa being the only other survivor. As the two of them venture through the strange world, they begin to encounter prehistoric creatures, revealing that this unknown planet is Earth 65 million years in the past. And it's a race against time as the man and the girl have to escape Earth before the mass extinction caused by the impact of the Chicxulub meteor. I'm always up for seeing dinosaurs brought to the big screen. I've loved dinosaurs since as far back as I can remember, and I can't see myself ever growing out of them. So after the disappointment of Jurassic World Dominion, I see the trailers for 65 and I'm like, sure, I'll take it. Just give me a fun dinosaur movie. Well, you had one job, writers of A Quiet Place. I'm just going to go ahead and dive into spoilers in this video. Knowing my audience, most of you have probably seen the movie by now anyway, but I have to detail beyond what we know from the trailers in order to explain why this movie is lame. I will give credit that unlike Dominion, the marketing for this movie does a good job being secretive about some things without the final result making it feel like plain false advertising, for the most part. The problem here is that the final result is very pedestrian. What and I think most audiences were getting from the marketing was that this was going to be sort of an inverse Planet of the Apes, where the space adventurer unknowingly enters a wormhole, winds up on a seemingly alien planet, but it turns out to be Earth in the past. But that's not the case. What 65 is actually about is humanoid beings from a planet called Samaras, and there's no time travel at all. The whole movie takes place 65 million years ago. Mills is taken off into space to find a cure for the disease his daughter is afflicted with. On his way back, he crash lands on Earth, and he and Koa, the other remaining survivor, have to make their way to the top of a mountain where the other broken half of their spaceship containing an escape shuttle landed, and along the way they battle prehistoric creatures. It's after the revelation of where they are about 10 minutes in that the title appears, but not just the title, but also the tagline, the words that we've seen all over the marketing. 65 million years ago, Earth had a visitor. Just in case we're too stupid to have put that together ourselves, here it is literally spelled out for us. And watching the movie, it was perplexing to me that they didn't just go with that inverse Planet of the Apes premise, because the movie does absolutely nothing with the idea of intelligent life on distant planets. The amount of life on Samaras we see is mostly relegated to holographic recordings of Mills' daughter, but what we do see appears hardly any different than the human civilization that would come to pass on Earth eons later. Even if I didn't question the fact that the English language exists on this foreign planet that predates mankind, the daughter mentions school in one of the recordings, so they have school just like we eventually would. We see her in a hospital room that looks pretty similar to what we've got, and she plays with toys that resemble Lego. So that aspect is completely unimaginative. All it serves is to set up the scenario on ancient Earth, and then it's just a very surface-level point A to point B plotline, with a lot of tedious wandering making up a great percentage of the movie. I will admit, I'm a softie for the strong man protects little girl trope. I'm not sure why, I guess it's just the wholesome image of the strongest defending the most vulnerable. But in 65, there's so little to either Mills or Koa. And by having these two characters who are stranded together speak different languages, and only on occasion is Mills able to decipher what she's saying, the rest of the time just being annoyed with her, it creates a barrier that keeps them from having any meaningful chemistry. This could be made up for if the movie was a thrilling experience that delivers on feasting the eyes, but it's not very strong in those departments either. The most visually striking images are the opening scene in outer space with the shot zooming through galaxies and nebulas, and most of the aerial shots of Earth. The land looks recognizable enough as our home planet, but it's given an ever so slight alien appearance to make it feel ancient. Unfortunately, I can't say that dinosaurs are as great of a sight. Some look fine, others look quite bad actually. There's this one baby carnivore that has a rather cartoonish look to it with giant bug eyes. It looked like an effect from Aragon. And the designs of the creatures have, I think, justifiably gotten a lot of flack. I'm not a purist when it comes to dinosaur designs. It doesn't make a difference to me how an oviraptor has its hands positioned, but I could only identify one or two species in 65. The pterosaurs I was able to look at and say, hey, that's Jungaripterus, I can tell by the crest. The small theropods, sure, I could observe them and think, Troodon, probably. Most others I could not recognize. There's a creature that attacks Mills that I presume to be Chirostenotes at first glance, except I'm pretty sure Chirostenotes didn't have sharp teeth. There's also this one large carnivore that actually looks quite a bit like the Mortem Rex from the Jurassic World Alive game app, but that was a hybrid. Now, because it's logical to say that we haven't discovered every single dinosaur species that ever existed, I'm not totally against the idea of making up a few kinds for a dinosaur movie. This is one idea I liked in the short-lived TV series Terra Nova. Decent premise, chintzy effects. But 65 goes way over the top with that idea, particularly with the gigantic creature that Mills faces off against toward the end, which I might add takes place during the fastest sunrise since Hobbs and Shaw.
What do you know? Haven't you heard of suspension of disbelief?
It's actually quite funny how obvious it is that the filmmakers were ashamed of this certain design. You know, this shot from the trailer? That puff of steam was added in specifically for the trailer to give us the illusion that it was just a giant theropod of some sort. This is what we see in the movie. It's like Euparkeria on kaiju steroids. There's no creature that remotely resembles that. Again, I can give some leeway in terms of dinosaur designs, but this is pretty ridiculous. Is the movie scary at all? Not really. A lot of it I've seen done much better in other sci-fi flicks. I mean, heck, the scene where the two characters are standing at the cave entrance while it's raining, and a lightning flash suddenly reveals the T-Rex-like creature behind them, that's a Fallen Kingdom ripoff right there. There's one solid moment of tension. It's in the cave when Mills has his gun and a flashlight out, on the lookout for anything stalking him, and he looks down to see water ripples floating out of the darkness in front of him. That was decent. I also like the score. It's composed by Chris Bacon, who doesn't have much else of note under his belt aside from the Wednesday series, but he's accompanied here by veteran Danny Elfman, and they come up with a musical score that is where most of the effort in the movie is. Now, I held out hope that there would be something more to this story up until the end credits, because with all the weird directions that it was taking, like the idea of humanoid life on other planets millions of years ago and such, I thought that I was seeing where it was all going. We would find out that the inhabitants of Samaris are the ancient ancestors of humanity on Earth. Perhaps Samaris dies eons later, and the last small group of remaining people came to Earth after hearing, I guess, the legend of Mills and Koa. They lost any technological advancements they had on the way, and they just had to start building from the ground up. And that's why the two worlds wound up so similar. Though I don't see how it would make sense that they just lost the English language and just coincidentally came up with it again a few thousand years later, but that would be kind of an interesting mythos to explore. Nothing at all like that happens, though. Mills and Koa just escape Earth in the nick of time before the meteor impact, they take off into the stars, and the movie just stops right there. During the credits, we do see a time-lapse of Earth recovering from the meteor strike and the construction of a city, but there's not any link made between that and Samaris. So ultimately, 65 is an empty and forgettable sci-fi flick with uneven effects, thin characters, and dozens of derivative ideas that it has no clue what to do with. The question I know a lot of you are probably asking is, do I think 65 is worse than Jurassic World Dominion? And well, it's not a very appropriate comparison. Dominion is technically the better movie. It's better made, has more of a plot, and the effects are more consistently solid. But on the other hand, Dominion also left a far greater sting. I'll put it this way. Comparing 65 to Dominion is sort of like comparing a trip to the dentist versus a trip to the playground when your parents kept telling you they were taking you to Universal Studios. The former isn't fun, but it just comes and goes and you forget about it, while the latter might otherwise be fun if you weren't thinking about the greater fun you were promised, so it's just going to irk you for a while afterwards. Scoring on the Factor Facts, 65 minus 29 seems fair. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review helpful. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture. I'm Alex Pop.